So today we're going to talk about roots and rational exponents. So I just want to kind of show you that if we have the square root of, I don't know, x, whatever, that means the same thing as x to the 1/2 power. So rational exponents and radicals, they can be written the same. So if we have the cube root of x, well, that's going to be the same thing as x to the 1/3 power. So this number here is called the index. Okay, that is called the index. That's the denominator of the fraction, is the index. So if we just like kind of write the rule, if we have a to the m over n, that's the same thing as the nth root of a to the m power. Or sometimes we write that as the nth root of a all to the m power. So those mean the same thing, no big deal. Now we also have a negative exponent. So remember that negative exponents really just means that you put that in the denominator of a fraction. So that's going to be the same thing as 1 over a to the m over n. And then now, because these mean the same thing, right? Here's that rational exponent, here's that radical, there's that rational exponent, there's that radical. We have a radical in the denominator. So we're going to work with that a lot more in the next section, that we have to rationalize that. Today, we don't have to worry about that. We're just practicing moving back and forth. So let's go ahead and do example 1. Rewrite in radical form. So we have this example, 62 to the 7/3. So if we're rewriting that in radical form, the index is going to be the number, the root, if you will. So it's a root 3, and then this 62 is what goes inside the radical, and then this exponent is going to go right there. I personally like to write it probably like this a little bit more, but either one is fine. Try another one. We could have 4 to the 5/3 power. So we have, again, another root 3. That 4 is going to go on the inside, and then that 5 is going to go on the outside. So you can see that this becomes the exponent, and this denominator becomes the index. So let's look at example 2. Let's go the other way. Write using rational exponents. So that's going to say, well, we're starting in radical form. Let's rewrite it using rational exponents. So whatever's inside the radical, that's going to become your base. And then the denominator is the index, so the denominator is 4, and then the exponent is the numerator. So 81 to the 3/4 power. We try one more. The 4th root of 5 squared. We're not going to evaluate that 5 squared. We're going to take this 5. That's going to become the base of our exponent. This 4 is going to become the denominator. That's our index. And the exponent is 2. So notice that that 2/4, that we can simplify that. You're going to want to make sure you do that. So our answer is going to be 5 to the 1/2. Okay. So let's go ahead and look a little bit more. Now we're going to practice evaluating these without a calculator. So now that we know how to kind of rewrite them, we are going to do example 3. Evaluate without a calculator. So when we say without a calculator, if you need to use a calculator because you don't know what 4 to the 3rd power is, that's fine. But what we mean is you got to show all your steps, and we will ask you to do this on tests and quizzes for us. And we want to make sure our answers, there will be no decimals. So the next examples we will type them in our calculator. But these we can do without. So if I have 16 to the 3/2 power, the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and switch that into radical form. I'm going to switch this into radical form. So the 16 is what's going to go inside. This 2 is my index. So there's really a little 2 here. We don't actually write that 2. I'll put that 2 here just for right now. Don't actually write that, but you have to know when it's missing, that's really a square root. And then we have that 3. So now as I look at this, I have the square root of 16. Well, you know what the square root of 16 is. The square root of 16 is going to be 4. And we have that to the 3rd. Why is this blurry? Come on. Okay, and then we can evaluate 4 to the 3rd, and that's going to be 64. Okay, so looking at example B now, I have 32 to the negative 3/5 power. So the first thing I want to do is take care of that negative exponent, so I'm going to move all of this into the denominator. So I'm going to have 1 over 32 to the 3/5 power. And then I want to turn this into a radical. So again, that 5 right there, that's my index, so I'm going to have the 5th root of 32 all to the 3rd power. So the 5th root of 32, if I simplify that, that's just going to be a 2. Now remember, this is in the bottom. So 1 over 2 to the 3rd. And then I can simplify that 2 to the 3rd to become 1/8. Okay, you can always check yourself by typing in the calculator, but I'm going to want to see these steps if I ask you to not use a calculator. All right, one more. So let's take 125 to the 2/3 power. So we're going to, again, put that into radical form. So the cube root of 125 squared. So the cube root of 125 is going to be 5. And then we'll square that and end up with 25. So we're showing our steps nice and clearly. All right, the next example is going to be to use a calculator. So example 4, use a calculator. We're going to round to the nearest thousandth. So thousandth, that's going to be 3 decimal places. All right, so this is really just, do you know how to type in your calculator? So I'm going to have the 4th root of 82 to the 3rd power. So we're going to take our calculators. To get a 4th root, you're going to press 4 and then second this exponent key, and what it's going to do is it's going to turn that into that 4th root. We're going to type in that 82, and then you can arrow over to put that to the 3rd power. So now that's 27.24961617. So we want to round that to 3 decimal places. So we're going to go ahead and make that 27.250. So 3 decimal places, you want to include that 0. Let's try another one. 35 to the 5/6 power. So again, we'll take our calculator here. And we're going to do 35. We're going to exponent. And since our exponent's a fraction, we can go ahead and press this fraction button. And then it's going to be 5 over 6. And then we can round that to 3 decimal places. So we'll go with 19.352. All right, one more for good measure here. The 7th root of 18,342. So one more time, let's go ahead and clear this. Since we want a 7th root, we'll press the number 7. We'll press second this exponent key because that's the little x with a radical. That's giving me that 7th root. And then I'll just type in 18342. And then I'm going to round to the nearest thousandth again. So 4.065. Okay, we are almost done. Check out the next video.